President Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., was promised damaging information about Hillary Clinton before agreeing to meet with a Kremlin-connected Russian lawyer during the 2016 campaign, according to 3 advisors to the White House briefed on the meeting and to others with knowledge of it. The meeting was also attended by the president's campaign chairman at the time, Paul J. Manafort, as well as by the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Mr. Manafort and Mr. Kushner recently disclosed the meeting, though not its content, in confidential government documents described to the New York Times. The Times reported the existence of the meeting on Saturday, but in subsequent interviews, the advisors and others revealed the motivation behind it. The meeting, at Trump Tower on June 9, 2016, 2 weeks after Donald J. Trump clinched the Republican nomination, points to the central question in federal investigations of the Kremlin's meddling in the presidential election, whether the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians. The accounts of the meeting represent the first public indication that at least some in the campaign were willing to accept Russian help, while President Trump has been dogged by revelations of undisclosed meetings between his associates and the Russians. The episode at Trump Tower is the first such confirmed private meeting involving his inner circle during the campaign, as well as the first one known to have included his eldest son. It came at an inflection point in the campaign, when Donald Trump Jr., who served as an advisor and a surrogate, was ascendant and Mr. Manafort was consolidating power. It is unclear whether the Russian lawyer, Natalia Veselnitskaya,
he said she then turned the conversation to adoption of Russian children in the Magnitsky Act, an American law that blacklists suspected Russian human rights abusers. The 2012 law so enraged President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia that he halted American adoptions of Russian children. It became clear to me that this was the true agenda all along and that the claims of potentially helpful information were a pretext for the meeting, Mr. Trump said. 2 people briefed on the meeting said the intermediary was Rob Goldstone, a former British tabloid journalist and the president of a company called We2 Entertainment who has worked with the Miss Universe pageant. He did not immediately respond to messages seeking comment. Mark Corallo, a spokesman for the president's lawyer, said on Sunday that the president was not aware of and did not attend the meeting. Lawyers for Mr. Kushner referred to their statement a day earlier, confirming that he voluntarily disclosed the meeting but referring questions about it to Donald Trump Jr. Mr. Manafort declined to comment. In his statement, Donald Trump Jr. said he asked Mr. Manafort and Mr. Kushner to attend, but did not tell them what the meeting was about. Political campaigns collect opposition research from many quarters but rarely from sources linked to foreign governments. American intelligence agencies have concluded that Russian hackers and propagandists worked to tip the election toward Donald J. Trump, in part by stealing and then providing to WikiLeaks internal Democratic Party and Clinton campaign emails that were embarrassing to Mrs. Clinton. WikiLeaks began releasing the material on July 22. A special prosecutor and congressional committees are now investigating the Trump campaign's possible collusion with the Russians. Mr. Trump has disputed Ms. Veselnitskaya's clients include state-owned businesses and a senior government official's son, whose company was under investigation in the United States at the time of the meeting. Her activities and associations had previously drawn the attention of the FBI, according to a former senior law enforcement official. Ms. Veselnitskaya said in a statement on Saturday that nothing at all about the presidential campaign was discussed at the Trump Tower meeting. She recalled that after about 10 minutes, either Mr. Kushner or Mr. Manafort left the room. She said she had never acted on behalf of the Russian government and never discussed any of these matters with any representative of the Russian government. The Trump Tower meeting was disclosed to government officials in recent weeks, when Mr. Kushner, who is also a senior White House aide, filed a revised version of a confidential form required to obtain a security clearance. The Times reported in April that he had not disclosed any foreign contacts, including meetings with the Russian ambassador to the United States and the head of a Russian state bank. Failure to report such contacts can result in a loss of access to classified information and even, if information is knowingly falsified or concealed, in imprisonment. Mr. Kushner's advisor said at the time that the omissions were in error, and that he had immediately notified the FBI that he would be revising the filing. Mr. Manafort, the former campaign chairman, also recently disclosed the meeting, and Donald Trump Jr.'s role in organizing it, to congressional investigators who had questions about his foreign contacts. According to people familiar with the events, neither Mr. Manafort nor Mr. Kushner was required to disclose the content of the meeting. Since the president took office, Donald Trump Jr. and his brother Eric have assumed day-to-day control of their father's real estate empire. Because he does not serve in the administration and does not have a security clearance, Donald Trump Jr. was not required to disclose his foreign contacts. Federal and congressional investigators have not publicly asked for any records that would require his disclosure of Russian contacts, but in an interview with The Times in March, he denied participating in any campaign-related meetings with Russian nationals. "Did I meet with people that were Russian?" In May, the president fired the FBI director, James B. Comey, who days later provided information about a meeting with Mr. Trump at the White House. According to Mr. Comey, the president asked him to end the Bureau's investigation into Mr. Flynn. Mr. Trump has repeatedly denied making such a request. Robert S. Mueller III, a former FBI director, was then appointed as special counsel. The status of Mr. Mueller's investigation is not clear, but he has assembled a veteran team of prosecutors and agents to dig into any possible collusion.